Hello and welcome to the Prumihimo YouTube channel. My name is Prumihimo and I'm a designer, demonstrator and workshop tutor specialising in making jewellery using Kumihimo braiding techniques. Today I'd like to show you how to make a design using a combination of Kumihimo and bead weaving techniques, and this is the design. It's a complex design, so this will be in two parts. The first part will cover the beaded sections and the second part will cover the braided sections. What you will need for the first part of the design is some 6mm round beads, just under 50, about half a tube, which is about 10 grams of size 8 seed beads, and I've used metal seed beads. You'll need some beading thread, you'll need a beading needle, and you'll need a pair of scissors. So let's get started. The way I want to show this design is by explaining the structure first of all. This little beaded section is made in rows, and in this example I've got 4 rows of the gemstones and 3 rows of the smaller seed beads. The starting point is a beading needle and beading thread. Take a comfortable length of thread first of all. You can always add in more if you need to, but if you have too much thread you will end up with knots. The next thing you want to do is put a little stop bead about 15 to 20 centimetres from the far end of the thread. To do this, you just take a seed bead and run through it with your needle twice in the same direction. And this will mean that you can move the bead up and down the cord as you need it, and your beads won't fall off the end. So our first row is made by picking up 3 of our gemstones, or whatever your 6mm beads are, with your beading needle. So, and they're going to be alternated with the seed beads. So I need 3 of each. There we go. And once you've got your 3, thread them onto the thread and then run through them all again in the same direction. Each 6mm and each seed bead. I'm using hollow seed beads here, so sometimes as you thread into them you may catch the inner edge. Don't worry about that, just have another go. So go through them all twice and then go through the next 6mm and the next seed bead. Once you've done that, you can pull them tight like that. And that forms your first row. For the second row, you need to pick up 5 seed beads on your needle. And then, when you have your 5 seed beads, miss the next 6mm and pass your needle through the next seed bead on that first row. And that will give you a little loop. Repeat that twice, so you have 2 more loops. So each time I'm going to pick up 5 seed beads, pass through the next seed bead, pull up tight and carry on with another 5 seed beads, and then I go through the last one. And that is my second row. At the moment it just looks like 3 loops, but that will come together in a moment. Now for the third row we need to move up a level, and this is called stepping up, and you only do it at the beginning of this row and each row where you're working with the loops. And what you're going to do is pass through the next 3 beads of the first loop like that. And now what I'm going to do is pick up another 6mm bead, and now I'm going to move round to the second loop, and I'm going to pick up the middle bead in that loop. So not this one, this is from the first row, So 1, 2, 3, the third bead there. Pass through that and pull up. And repeat. And you'll find that a lot of bead weaving is very repetitive, so you soon get into the swing of it. At this stage it's hard to see the pattern, but that's all going to change in a moment. So with this bead, I'm now going to pass through the third bead of the next loop. Just organise my threads, and then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to pick up another bead and pass through the third one, which I've already passed through, because that one's easy to find. That was the first one I went through. Now, this is where the pattern starts to come together. So I'm going to pull it up, and now those loops have turned into diagonal lines. So it's starting to resemble the section that we're trying to make. These gemstone beads are quite heavy, so we're just going to reinforce this by going through that row once more. So each 6mm and each seed bead we're going to pass through, and that will just strengthen up the whole design and stop it from being too floppy at this stage. Keep its shape. And once you've done that, then we're going to start repeating our pattern. So it gets easy. Another 5 seed beads. Through the next seed bead after the 6mm. And again, another 5 seed beads. And through the next seed bead, and our final loop in the row, again 5 seed beads, and through that first one that we passed through. So again, we have the situation where we have loops. Now we're going to do our step up. This is the only time we do the step up, when we're trying to get beyond these 3 loops. So this time we go through 3 beads and come out of that middle one. And now we continue with our picking up of the gemstones and going through the third bead in the loop. Here we go, that one's fighting back a little bit, that does happen. There we go. And again here, through the third one. And one more. And we really start to see the pattern now developing. And it becomes much easier from this stage onwards. So for this section, so far, sorry, that was just proving a little bit naughty. Pop through there. So for this section, I've now done 1, 2, 3 rows of the 6mm beads, and I've done 2 rows of the seed beads. So I'm now going to carry on and do another row of seed beads and another row of the gemstones. Now that you've completed your design, you may feel that it's a little bit wiggly. And we're going to sort that out by taking our thread through the same thread path to strengthen up the design. And this is one of the principles of bead weaving. And by going through the beads again, what we do is make them align better with one another. Try to follow the original thread path. So if you notice, I'm going up and down the diagonal lines, and each time I go through the beads, they start to strengthen up. And you need to do that through all the beads. What I'd like to show you now, however, is how to finish off your thread. Once you've been through all the beads, it's time to tie off the ends. The way to do this is to pass your needle between two beads, it doesn't matter where, under the thread between them, pull your needle through, and then take it through the loop that is formed, and pull tight to form a knot. Then repeat. Again, under the thread, through the loop, and pull up tight. If you want to, you can repeat that process. Otherwise, simply take your thread through a couple more beads and, holding it tight, trim it. For the other end, the tail that you've left, you're going to repeat that process. Remove the stop bead, thread your needle, pull it through, and then again, sew through a few beads, then find a convenient place to make your knot between two beads, pass the needle underneath, loop it through, pull it tight, and repeat. Thread it through another bead or two, just so that the end is hidden. I've gone through one there, and snip off the end. So now you have your first beaded section, made up of 4 rows of 6mm beads. You need to make an identical one, and then you need to make a slightly longer one, which is made up of 6 rows. And then you're ready for the next part. Right, so now you're ready for part 2 of this demonstration. Click below and you'll be taken straight there. Have you enjoyed this? I do hope so, and I do hope you'll give me a like if you have. But most importantly, hit the subscribe button and then you will be notified of all the exciting things that I have planned for you. Do you have any questions or comments or suggestions? Please put them below and I will respond to you as quickly as I can. Thank you very much for joining me. Bye. You're now ready to add some beads. And for this design, you need to have 35 beads on 2 diagonally opposite cords. So for instance, this cord is diagonally opposite this cord. So I will thread 35 beads onto each of these cords. I'm going to just do a few for you now. You can stiffen the ends of the